Welcome to Musasi versus Evelyn Media Availability Day. First up, we have Miss Kat Zingano. First question we'll take from Jay Anderson.
Thanks very much. And Kat, welcome back. Maybe a little bit more of a wait for this one than you'd anticipated. Can you tell us what happened in March, and was it frustrating to see it pushed back, or did you take advantage of that time, maybe scout her a little more?
I mean, it's always frustrating to prepare for something and get ready and plan for it, and it not pan out. That's like a lot of hours and a lot of miles into preparation for something that I really care about, let alone emotions and adrenaline and whatever. So for it to not go and need to be postponed, it sucks, but it's part of the game. This is not a gentle sport, and you need to be as healthy as possible for it. So it is what it is, and I'm here, so that's all that matters.
You made a tweet earlier this month that I actually kind of thought was hilarious and said, you need to give fighters time to heal from battle wounds before you start talking about their inactivity and some of what y'all threw out their back 10 years ago from getting a sandwich out of the fridge. I'm just curious, did you take a lot of grief? Was that in response to this fight being pushed back, or?
No, I mean, it wasn't it wasn't about this one in particular. I think it was just in general for everyone. Like, Conor McGregor broke his leg in that fight, and it's just always interesting to see people calling each other out and fans trying to like put the pressure on and whatever. And it's like that, when I first saw it, it's like that man just kicked his first pad since surgery. Like, and the crazy part is that we do heal really fast, and like we do get through crazy things and injuries and life stuff and being sick and the same thing everybody else goes through, but like 6 to 10 months we're in there doing this thing again. And I don't think people understand that that's kind of like X-Men superhuman stuff sometimes, and it's just it's a time game and it's a patience game. And sometimes when I just see people on there acting like they know, but they don't know, it just seemed like a funny thing to say and a funny thing to call out, just in defense of fighters in general, not towards me or anything I was going through. Like I know there's people that'll say if you go in and you fight through an injury and you win, you're a hero. If you fight through an injury and you don't win, you're full of excuses. So it's kind of just hitting both sides of the coin and just talking about the reality of what it is that we're doing. And the fact is, we all want to do it. There's a lot more that goes into it than a lot of people see. And no, it's just funny and tongue-in-cheek talking about just what we go through and how crazy it can be at times, and just how that goes, I guess.
Curtis Blades came out the other day. He said MMA has the worst fans because it's all about what you did lately. Do you agree with that statement at all, or are you a little more understanding about that reaction?
Yeah, it's definitely a different sport. Like I came up in other sports where people just love to watch you compete. Obviously from being a little kid, like your family comes, your friend come, like there's parents and other, of teammates or of other teams that just love to see how you do, whether you win or lose. And, it doesn't change that y'all go out to dinner afterwards. It doesn't change that you're going to do it again next weekend. It doesn't change anything. But MMA, I do remember hearing early in my career, like you're only as good as your last fight. And that's a hard reality, and it's a lot of pressure, but it is what people remember, and it is how it goes. And you can be credited or discredited in this sport very, very fast, no matter what you've done in the past. So you always have to be learning, you always have to be growing, you have to be that healthy scared and that healthy diligence when you're in these training camps, just to stay on top of everything. Because it's a fast-paced sport, and the evolution of it is moving very quickly. So it's it can be tough, and people are definitely chomping at the bit to call you out or correct you on whatever.
Next question, Stephen.
Kat, would you have rather have faced Cris Cyborg next, if you could sort of rewrite your script for this year? And
I mean,
can you sort of explain to us, like from your perspective, why that fight didn't take place?
I wasn't offered that fight, for one. I know coming into Bellator, We talked about how that was going to be a fight that we had for sure. I know also coming into Bellator, like all of my footage of fighting was in the UFC. There's licensing stuff there, so they can't promote me. They can't use any of my fight videos or highlights or anything. Can't even really talk about me without it being a licensing thing with the UFC. So, they really wanted me to, fight fights here and, get tape, get real, give me, good matches against good 145-pound girls. And, I am relatively new to this weight class. So, putting me in there and figuring it out. I wasn't offered Cyborg. I did tell them in the beginning there were things that I want to do where both of us would do to make sure it's a fair fight and to make sure it's a safe fight. And, with those guidelines and everything, it never came out. Every time we, talked about the fight being between us, or she was calling me out online, or I was saying stuff about her online, I was kind of waiting for the phone calls, and the phone calls would come, but it was never her name. So, fights are momentary. Every punch, every kick is moment by moment, every second, every breath. So I'm focusing on this fight. I know that fight, it doesn't even matter right now because this is what I have to do. My eyes are set on Pam Sorensen and getting through this match and coming here and doing what I trained to do.
Assuming you beat Pam, have you been told specifically that this is a number 1 contender fight?
Yeah, I mean, and I've called it that myself. That's what I'm assuming. Pam's coming up and she's done some good things with Bellator so far. I'm coming up doing some good things with Bellator so far. I think it would be fair to say that could be the result of this fight for sure.
So assuming you win, what would you like to see happen? You mentioned before that you wanted to make it a fair fight. You wanted certain things to happen. What would you like to see happen to make it a fair fight and make it a fight that you'd be okay with?
I just think independent testing for both of us with a independent resource, just making sure there's no biases, there's no, people that we know, and making sure everything is just safe and fair.
Next question, Nathan.
Greetings, Kat. You've been preparing for Pam Sorensen now for quite some time. How has that additional time helped you in getting ready for this fight?
I mean, more time is always good. I think being in states of adrenaline for a long time, I mean, that can be rough, but, knowing who I have as an opponent, knowing what the date is, all of that, like it just changes your life because it really becomes a focus. So I've been focused on this since, I guess, February, since our last fight was supposed to be mid-March. And, even with needing to postpone the fight, I was able to keep my gains and just kind of keep rolling through and do what I could just to get back to perfect baseline, getting ready for this fight. And, it worked, and, I'm ready and I'm here. So that's it.
Wonderful. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about Cyborg. I know Cyborg even called you out online when the fight could not happen in March. How many fights do you have left on your contract? And you already said that you believe this is a number 1 contenders fight, but after this fight, how many more fights will you have with Bellator? And do you see yourself looking to stay with the organization?
To be honest, I have 4 fights as far as the contract. So I'm 2 fights into that contract, and I have 2 left, with this one being the 3rd. I would love to re-sign with Bellator. I'd like to look around with whatever is options and check all of that out. I'm happy over here. I like the 145-pound division. I think it would be awesome also to sign a 135-pound division and see what that looks like over here. But, one fight at a time. And right now I'm looking at this fight on Friday.
Last question from Santiago.
Hi, Kat. Thank you for the time. This featherweight division is pretty stacked. Scott Coker worked hard to bring in new big names like yourself. Do you like what they've done with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a deep pool of talent here. These girls are all tough. Everyone's game. Everyone works hard. I think it's an awesome representation of what us 145-pound girls can do.
Pam is also not that long signed with Bellator MMA. Did you watch her last fight against Arlene? And what did you make of that performance?
I did. I watched that fight, and it told me a lot as far as what I, structured my training camp around, and when I watched it with my coaches, it gave me a lot of feedback on things I want to work on. But I also trained to expect the unexpected. So, as on one hand, I plan to fight someone that I just watched in that video, and on the other hand, I plan to fight anybody. So it's it was a good fight. Arlene is a badass too, and as are all of these girls at this level. So, just getting ready to do my best, and that's about it.
Cannot wait to see you perform again. Good luck on Fight Night, Kat.
Thank you.
That concludes our time.